Welcome to the Gita in Action podcast. My name is Radha, and I'm here with a family of seekers. We're reading through the Bhagavad Gita verse by verse. I'm live from Chicago this morning, actually. My family and I came to Chicago this weekend. I had a work event, and so we came to Chicago, and then we ended up staying for Mother's Day because my in-laws live here. So it's been very fun. It's been very fun. I had a goal this weekend to just be present with my family because the past few weekends have just been so busy that it's like I'm there, but I'm not there. So I had that goal just to be present, not on my phone, not like thinking about all of the things, just present. And it was very nice. It was refreshing. Sometimes it's a little bit easier when you're like not in your own environment at home or you kind of get into like vacation mode and it's a little bit easier to just drop things. So um, it's been a nice weekend here in Chicago, and we had quite nice weather. So I'm grateful. Yeah, grateful. And yesterday was Mother's Day, which was especially nice. I feel like I got a lot of reminders this weekend and really the past week. Like things just kept coming up for me. Sometimes you get into spiritual life and it's like, and sometimes people say like, you need to focus on your sadhana, you need to chant, you need to study. And we kind of forget that like family life is such an important part of our service to God. I know I do anyway. That can easily happen, especially when you first really start and you're very enthusiastic and sometimes you'll even like hear that from like old school spiritualists, like that your sadhana and your studying is like the most important and that family life is, illusion or and I had a lot of reminders from some teachers that I really respect over the past week or so of how important family life is if you're in the Grihastha ashram, the ashram where you get married and you have children. And when you make that commitment, it's not something that you can just neglect in the name of spirituality. It's actually quite the opposite. We have to, it's a service that we take on, and it's our duty to really to show up and to do that service with love um and heart in the service of God. And so when I catch myself kind of drifting away, kind of getting caught into other things, other services that are very uplifting and inspiring, but I feel like, when I get a little bit off balance and I need to come back and be present for my family. And it's a constant balancing act. It's a constant balancing act, but I'm trying. I'm trying because if you have a family and you have children, this is at this time in your life anyway, this is your most important service. My guru told me that when I had my baby, that this was my most important service because a mother's love is the first it's their first experience of Krishna's love, and it can make all the difference in their lives, in their spiritual lives, in their development. You know, um, it's such a tall or it's such a big responsibility. We're cognizant of like a little being's life and relationship with God. And so it's really important. It's really important. So I was appreciating the way things kind of happened in my life the past week, such that I ended up in Chicago this week and had all these wonderful teachers and kind of signs that it was time to kind of just put my phone and computer down and focus on family for a few days and it's been sweet. So I just thought I would share some Mother's Day realizations before we start here. If you're a mother or going to be a mother, um, yeah, get ready because it is our most important service. It's our most important service. Okay, let's get started here. Before we start too, I want to just make a plug for India. We're going to India in February. February 12th through the 28th, I think. We're going to Rishikesh. There'll be a kirtan festival there, so we'll kind of hit that up a little bit. We'll do some other things too. Um, but we'll maybe go to that at night. And then we're going to Jaipur, which is this extremely beautiful and devotional place. It's like the best of both worlds. You have the beautiful palaces and Rajasthan and architecture, and then you just have such devotional temples with I mean, Govindaji. It's like the pinnacle, right? So it's really special place. And then we go to Vrindavan, Govardhan, Krishna's birthplace. It's Mathura, but in that area, in Vrindavan area. So that will be our pilgrimage, and um, yeah, it will be really special. We'll have Gandharvikas coming with us for kirtan, and we might have another kirtaniya too, actually. And we'll do all the things. We'll have daily yoga, we'll have excursions, we'll have temple hopping, we'll have shopping, and it's very reasonable. I would challenge you that it's probably the most reasonably priced pilgrimage you can find. And let me know if that's not true, because I'm pretty sure it is. So please come with us. Okay, with that, let's start. We are in chapter 11 today. We're in chapter 11 today, and we're starting with 37, text 37, chapter 11, text 37. And before we do that, is Stella able to say our prayers today?
Yes. I'm in Washington Square Park in New York City, but I can.
Oh, wow. Wonderful.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Jana Jana Salakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
That was so beautiful. I loved hearing Kalachandji also there. What a special treat. Wonderful. Thank you.
And a lot of people in New York City heard it too, actually.
Oh, look at that. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you both. So we're in this place in the Gita, we're in this section of the 11th chapter where Arjuna is glorifying Krishna. He just saw the universal form. He was all the things, like it was really kind of an intense thing for him. He was kind of fearful. And now we're seeing kind of his heart changing in real time as he's realizing what he's seeing. He was overwhelmed, then he starts to recognize who Krishna is, and now that recognition is just like evolving and getting deeper. It's turning into reverence. And that's what's really interesting here. Nothing externally has really changed. Krishna is the same person standing in front of him. But Arjuna's understanding is changing as he's evolving and kind of relating to Krishna differently. His clarity has deepened. And this is something we can probably all relate to, because sometimes in our lives we can be very close to people, but not fully aware of their value or their depth or even their role in our lives. And when that awareness is missing, we can become a little bit casual. This is just a tendency of people. Not out of disrespect, but just because we don't fully see, or maybe we've been familiar for a while and then we kind of forget, their human side kind of outshadows is what we end up seeing more than their just super spiritual empowered side. This happens. This is natural. But then when the clarity comes and we really see that person for who they are, something naturally shifts inside us. We soften, we become more humble, we become more grateful, we become more respectful. And so this is the journey we're going on with Arjuna here. And so in these verses, we're going to explore these ideas. And one is that the more clearly we see, the more naturally humility arises. It's not even something that has to be forced or developed. It's natural, the more clearly we see. And then the second is that real closeness isn't about becoming casual. It's about becoming more aware. And this is real closeness. Okay, so let's get into it and we'll explore those themes more and more as we march through these verses. So we'll start with 37. 37. Let's see, whenever you're ready, Stella.
Oh, great one, greater even than Brahma. You are the original creator. Why then should they not offer their respectful obeisances unto you? O limitless one, God of gods, refuge of the universe. You are the invincible source, the cause of all causes, transcendental to the material manifestation.
Thank you. So, as I said, Arjuna's going deeper into his glorification of Krishna. And he's saying, why should they not offer obeisances unto you? In other words, after seeing who Krishna truly is, it's just, again, natural to offer respects. It's not something you do because it's like a ritual or a routine. It's just natural and appropriate. It's naturally what the heart wants to do. And then he says, you're greater than even Brahma. So in Vedic understanding, Brahma is known as a creator of the universe. He's the engineer of the material world. But Arjuna is recognizing here that even Brahma is not independent. So Brahma may create within the universe, but Krishna is the source behind Brahma himself. He's the source of Brahma himself. So Krishna is not just another powerful being within creation. He is the original source behind all creation. It's like you meet somebody who's really wonderful and you say, wow, and then you meet their mother, and you're like, wow, you raised such a wonderful, daughter or son. And you're just kind of like, that this is amazing. But that, like the source of even that, like Krishna is like the mother and father of everybody. He's the source of everybody. And then Arjuna says, you're the cause of all causes. The cause of all causes. So if we really think about that a little bit, the material world functions through endless chains of cause and effect. This is the nature of the material world. One thing causes another, which causes another, and then on it goes. Effects become causes, causes become effects. This is how everything operates. Okay, but Arjuna is saying that Krishna exists beyond all of that. Like he's not just another link in the chain. He is the ultimate source from which everything else is flowing. He's the ultimate source from which everything else is flowing. And this is such an important shift in Arjuna's consciousness. In the previous verse, he was saying, the reactions I'm seeing are appropriate. If you remember, he said, the devotees see you and they're joyful. The perfected beings are offering respects. The demoniac are afraid. Now he's taking it one step further and he's saying, of course they worship you because you are supremely worshipable. So Arjuna's just moving deeper and deeper into this realization. At first he was overwhelmed by what he saw. Then he recognizes Krishna within it. And now this recognition is just turning into reverence as he's just getting more and more clear. And again, Humility is the natural byproduct of clarity, and therefore the next natural step is just like obeisances. As Arjuna's heart's becoming softer and more surrendered and more devotional with every verse. It's really quite beautiful. And this is Arjuna's journey, but again, this can be our journey. We can learn to see God's magnificence all around us. The words that God is the source of everything can actually become realized in our hearts, not just something that we say. They can actually be realized in our hearts in this lifetime. And then what? We become completely transformed from the inside out. And our lives become completely transformed from the insides out, from the inside out. So let's go to the next one, 38. When you're ready, Stella.
You are the original personality of Godhead, the oldest, the ultimate sanctuary of this manifested cosmic world. You are the knower of everything, and you are all that is knowable. You are the supreme refuge above the material modes. O limitless form, this whole cosmic manifestation is pervaded by you.
Thank you. So we're getting deeper and deeper into Arjuna's realizations, and more personal. He says, "You are the original personality of Godhead." So again, Krishna's not simply a powerful being in the universe. He's the original source from which everything comes. He's the oldest, the foundation, the ultimate shelter of all existence. And then Arjuna says, "You are the knower and you are the knowable." Right? So Krishna knows everything because he's present within the heart of every living being as super soul. So he knows everything. Nothing is hidden from him. Every thought, every fear, every desire, every experience, he's directly aware of it all. And this has implications for us because in this world, we can know so many things. We can become experts in science, psychology, business, technology. We can study objects endlessly and accumulate massive amounts of information. You could take something simple like this phone, and you could spend years studying its design, its composition, its mechanics. And this knowledge, it may be useful on a practical level. But Arjuna is pointing towards something deeper here. None of that knowledge by itself can give us ultimate fulfillment. This is such a kind of like a bummer. They don't teach this, they don't teach spiritual knowledge in schools because it's ultimately the highest knowledge. It's the knowledge that can actually free us from fear, from anxiety, from suffering, from the cycle of material dissatisfaction. We were just having a conversation with Mark right before this started, and he said something like, this knowledge is really makes a lot of things make sense for me. It helps make sense of life. It's like, yeah, yeah, this is the ultimate knowledge, and only knowledge of God, knowledge of our relationship with the divine, has this power to truly transform the heart. It's the most powerful knowledge out there. I got a nuclear engineering degree when I was studying in school. And I always thought I was really attracted to nuclear energy because I thought it was a really powerful energy that was misunderstood and could be used for the good. So I was like attracted towards it. I worked for a contractor of the government, and it was like, let's use this for the good and help people to understand. And then I started studying spiritual knowledge, and I thought, oh wow, I have this all wrong. Like I have to zoom out even further because nuclear energy can't be used for the good until our consciousness is purified, and our collective consciousness is purified. Otherwise, it's just going to keep being used for the bad, and it's going to get more and more dangerous. Because nothing is more powerful than a transformation of the heart. I thought nuclear energy was the most powerful, but nothing is more powerful than the transformation of the heart. That is the most powerful energy in this existence. What to speak of the transformation of a collective culture's heart, the potential that exists there. So that was actually like a catalyst for getting into to spiritual wisdom, and then also wanting to share it. Kind of reorientating my whole life and life's purpose around it. Because this knowledge of Krishna and our relationship with the divine is the most powerful. So this is why Arjuna says Krishna is not only the knower, he knows everybody, he's in everybody's hearts, but he's the supreme object of knowledge. He's the supreme object of knowledge. There are many things we can know, and that's wonderful. But ultimately, Krishna is the one we are meant to know most deeply. God is the one we are meant to know most deeply. Then Arjuna says, this whole cosmic manifestation is pervaded by you. And this brings us back to the universal form. We talked about the universal form. Does this mean the universal form is God? We talked about this quite a bit. Like not exactly. What Arjuna is witnessing is mystical. Krishna's present everywhere as the super soul, sustaining and pervading creation. But in this moment, Krishna's doing something extraordinary. Okay, he's not only present within the universe, but he's revealing the universe as existing within him through this unlimited form. It's a revelation. It's a temporary form that he's revealing. And now Arjuna is fully recognizing who Krishna is. The source, the shelter, the supreme object of knowledge. Yeah, as this is becoming like downloaded, his response naturally deepens even into even greater reverence and just obeisances. This is the natural reaction when you start to realize just how great God is. And in that, just how finite and small we are. It just you can't help but just be humble in the presence of such magnificence. So now we move to 39. Whenever you're ready, Shraddhanjali.
39. You are air, and you are the supreme controller. You are fire, you are water, and you are the moon. You are Brahma, the first living creature, and you are the great grandfather. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you 1,000 times, and again, and yet again.
It's really getting intense here. Arjuna's just like offering obeisances just like in all directions, because Krishna's just everywhere. And then he mentions air, fire, water, the moon, Brahma, all of these manifestations that within Vedic culture are associated with this incredible power and influence. So Arjuna's saying all of these ultimately rest upon you. So it's like think of the most powerful and influential things that you can think of in this material universe. And then think all of those things just rest on God. Not that everything is absolutely one in an impersonal sense, or that God literally is these individual beings in every way, but rather these things are manifestations of his energy and his power. Like we talked about in the last chapter, these are his vibhutis, his opulent expansions, his opulent manifestations through which his greatness is reflected. And that was the whole point of the last chapter we read together. Whenever we see extraordinary beauty or power, intelligence, brilliance, majesty, These things should remind us of God because their source is God. That in itself is just so humbling. And it also like levels the playing field. Like there's no room for any like comparison or envy or when these are all just God's manifestations. I mean, manifesting in different ways for us to see and connect to and remember God. And in this way, they become our connections, like our lifeboats back home when we can see things that in that way. So Arjuna is realizing that if all of these powerful beings are worthy of respect, then how much more worshipable must the source of all of them be? Again, yesterday was Mother's Day. We all respect mothers quite a bit. Maybe if you don't have a mother in your life or like maybe if it's not your own mother, hopefully there's other mothers that we see and have a lot of respect for. Like, wow, you're so selfless and loving and all of these beautiful qualities that motherhood brings about. So we see that and we're humbled. But just imagine the source of all of that, where those qualities come from. It's Krishna. So this is why Arjuna says, I'm offer my obeisances unto you 1,000 times, again and again. And Arjuna is reaching this point where words and gestures are just no longer even feel sufficient. He's like overwhelmed by the magnitude of what he's realizing. It's like thousands of obeisances still don't feel enough. Because when we begin to genuinely understand who God is, the heart naturally moves towards gratitude and humility and reverence. And there's something very beautiful happening psychologically here. Earlier in the Gita, Arjuna was speaking to Krishna very intimately as his friend, as his charioteer. But after him seeing this universal manifestation, his perception is expanded. It's like the familiarity is still there, but now it's mixed with this rasa of like awe and reverence, which is a beautiful thing to have both of these in relationship. This awe and reverence. So Arjuna, again, he's standing on the battlefield. He's standing before Krishna on the battlefield, but emotionally and physically, he's bowing before the source of everything, the origin of all power, of existence, of creation. And he's this realization of who his friend is, who he was just like joking around with half a second ago. Now he's like, wow, this is the source of everything. Naturally, just surrender begins to arise within him. Arjuna's journey, but again, all of our journeys, where Krishna's trying to take us even through the Bhagavad Gita. Like, hey, look, I'm your best friend. But then we get to the tenth and 11th chapter, and it's like, well, look, I'm actually quite great, like the greatest you can imagine. Again, we talked about it's like you have a really good friend, and then you realize that they're the Prince of England or something, and you're like, wow, I didn't know you were also so great. Like we were just joking around. I thought you were pretty cool when we were just having fun together, but now it's like I'm quite humbled that we're so close, and it's just like it brings out another rasa. There's this reverence, this awe and reverence, this way to relate that really deepens your relationship. So this is what's happening to Arjuna. It's 40 to 40. Whenever you're ready, Shraddhanjali.
Obeisances to you from the front, from behind, from all sides. O unbounded power, you are the master of limitless might. You are all pervading, and thus you are everything.
So here we are. Arjuna's completely overwhelmed. He's offering obeisances from every direction. You just picture this, like front, all sides, because now he's realizing that actually there's nowhere that Krishna isn't. Krishna is everywhere. And again, before Arjuna was relating to Krishna very personally, very casually, as his friend, as his chariot driver, someone he ate with, he joked with, he spoke to intimately. Now he's realizing this isn't just my friend standing in front of me. This is the source of everything. And we can see this shift happening inside of him. Krishna's power is unlimited. That all incredible strength, beauty, intelligence, creation is ultimately coming from him. Everything exists within his energy. Everything rests in him. He pervades all things as the source and controller. It's like Arjuna's perspective is just like expanding. He's seeing that Krishna isn't just in the universe, but the entire universe is existing within Krishna's potency. And so naturally, this makes him reflect on how casually he's treated him. You can imagine that feeling again, like suddenly you realize that your best friend's the King of England, and it's like, whoa. Except in this case, it's the absolute truth himself. So we see Arjuna's heart shifting from casual friendship into this deep reverence and humility. And so this is the next verse. This will be our last verse that we talk about today. His prayers become more apologetic and heartfelt because he's starting to recognize that. Like, wow, I treated you so casually and you're so great. This is so beautiful about the Gita. I was raised in a Christian tradition, and the emphasis was so much on this aspect of God, God's, greatness. And the relationship with him that was really kind of taught was more of like reverence, which is beautiful and we see is super important. But it's so sweet how Krishna takes us on this journey with Arjuna. We learn to relate to Krishna in a way that's like, hey, in a more casual way, like you're my best friend. And then from that place, the relationship deepens. And that deepening is getting this sense of awe and reverence, seeing how great God is. We see this through the Bhakti chapters, right? First we see how sweet God is. We see how sweet and intimate our relationship with God can be. And then as we get into the 10th and 11th chapter, that opens up and we see just how great God is. And that just adds another element. It doesn't become like, it's not like the element. It's not, but it's an important element that's kind of like mixed into that relationship recipe that deepens it in a very sweet and intimate way. This element of irreverence. Yeah. This is something I love about this tradition. This is just the depth of relationship with God that we're given, that we're offered is is unparalleled. So the last two, 41, 42. Whenever you're ready, Shraddhanjali.
Thinking of you as my friend, I have rashly addressed you, O Krishna, O Yadava, O my friend, not knowing your glories. Please forgive whatever I may have done in madness or in love. I have dishonored you many times, jesting as we relaxed, lay on the same bed, or sat or ate together, sometimes alone and sometimes in front of many friends. O infallible one, please excuse me for all of those offenses.
Thank you. So this is a very human moment. Arjuna's reflecting back on the way he interacted with Krishna before really realizing how great he is. And he's saying, I treated you casually because I thought you were just my friend. And not in a dismissive sense. Like Arjuna genuinely loved Krishna. Their relationship was deeply intimate and affectionate. They did all the things together, traveled, ate together, rested together, joked together. There's like teasing, banter, the kinds of thing that naturally happens between close friends. But now it's like Arjuna's realizing, I was joking around with the source of everything. There was this kind of like equality in the relationship. Actually, like Arjuna was in like a material sense, he felt a little bit higher than Krishna because he was like a more powerful Kshatriya. So even that, he was like he just related to Krishna very familiarly, but after seeing the universal form, that whole perspective collapses. And he realizes, like, I just didn't understand who you actually are. And it's really sweet in this verse, we see how humble he is, because maybe, he says, maybe what he did came from badness, or maybe from love. He doesn't presumptuously say, oh, it was definitely pure love. He leaves that room for humility. He says, maybe it was affection, maybe it was ignorance, maybe it was both. And this is something that can be very relevant for our spiritual lives here, if we zoom in, is like sometimes when we become very close to spiritual teachers or mentors or even sacred things, sacred places, familiarity can slowly begin to cover reverence. Especially when you're brand new to the practice and you come in and you have kind of all of your anartas, like all of the knots in your heart. And you can very easily take what is actually quite sacred and just out of familiarity become too casual with it. You start seeing only the human side, the accessible side, the relatable side. And you unconsciously lose appreciation for the spiritual position that it carries. And this is where we have to be very careful because this is where offenses begin. It's not out of distaste, it's not from rebellion, but it's just from overfamiliarity. From forgetting the sacredness because something has become so accessible to us. This is why they say, like, if you visit Vrindavan, you should only go for a few days because it gets too familiar and there's danger when our heart still has anartas in it. There's danger when you get a little bit too familiar. You really have to be evolved to balance both these things. And the more evolved you are, the more natural the balance becomes. But your conditioned side is pretty strong, then be careful because very easily you can slip into just that level of too much closeness, too much familiarity with something that is sacred and lose this little, splash of reverence that is very necessary for our spiritual relationships. It's like the salt in the cookie recipe, it's like it's not something that you really necessarily want on its own. But when it's mixed into the recipe, it really enhances the entire relationship. Just this mood of reverence. It's very important because of sometimes because of our shortcomings, we fail to keep that salt in there. Yeah. But this moment is showing us that intimacy should deepen humility. It shouldn't erase reverence. Okay? Intimacy should deepen humility. It shouldn't erase reverence. Sometimes it erases reverence for us. Be careful of that. Just beware of that in your spiritual life. Consider this like a warning, because that happens. But the closer we get to something sacred, the more gratitude and care should come, not less. So Arjuna's realizing that now. He's remembering that, joking privately with Krishna and sometimes publicly in front of others, teasing him, having playful comments. Now he's feeling like, oh, maybe I crossed the line. Maybe I didn't understand at the time. So his prayers become incredibly sincere. I made mistakes, but you're infallible. Please forgive me. And again, this is what Arjuna's just like such a gold star example for us. This is what naturally happens when we realize somebody's greatness. And then you think maybe that you offended them. We just apologize. There's not even any question. Did I cross the line? I may have. Okay, let me just apologize. His heart softening. The ego is down, and humility is just just arising. So if we zoom in and take all this in, what we're seeing here is that Arjuna, he's not being told to become humble. Sometimes we feel like humility is something we have to manifest. It's like we have to get to fake, but it's his humility is naturally emerging because his clarity has expanded. He's not just seeing Krishna as his friend, he's seen him as the source of everything. And that shift in understanding, it changes everything. It softens his heart. It dissolves his ego. It transforms the way that he relates. And this is important for us because again, so often we try to kind of force the humility. We think I shouldn't be like this. I should be more respectful. I should be more surrendered. But this section's showing us is real humility. It's not forced. And it's not necessarily bad to, kind of recognize where you are and where you aren't and say, I want to be more surrendered. I'm not quite there yet. But at the same time, we should understand this gold standard that real humility, it's not forced, it's the result of clear vision. And this is available for us in this lifetime if we stick to this practice. If we desire this sincerely, Krishna will come in and just like surgically remove those anartas in our hearts so that we can have this clear vision. Those anartas of greed, lust, anger, pride, envy, illusion. They're like a shield. They keep us from really being able to see things in their rightful perspective. And the same goes, in our own relationships. It's not necessarily distance that protects them, though at the beginning, though that may be what's necessary. But when it's really awareness that we want to keep in that recipe, that level of awareness, that then reverence is the natural byproduct. When we truly see someone, when we understand their value, their position, their depth, respect isn't an effort that we have to make, it feels natural. So in this way, Arjuna, he doesn't become distant from Krishna. He actually becomes more connected, but in a more refined way. Like his love is still there, but now it's just infused with this reverence, humility, gratitude. And this is the direction of spiritual growth. It's not like that made him less close, but it's deeper, more conscious closeness. And this is where we want to get with our spiritual relationships too. We want to be friendly, we want to be intimate, we want to be familiar, but at the same time, when we can maintain this sense of reverence, when we really understand, like every person on this call is sacred, is a very elevated soul just for spending their morning, their Monday morning, first thing in the morning, an hour studying this text, their consciousness is very elevated. Now they may still have some anartas in the heart. Their conditioned side may still come out now and then. But don't let that conditioned side keep us from appreciating their empowered side. And this can so easily happen in our spiritual lives. This can so easily happen. And it's our job to notice that and pull back when that starts to happen. Just take assessment when the conditioned side is starting to overpower the empowered side. Right? So the real invitation here is to keep deepening our understanding, to keep seeking clear vision. Because the more clearly we see, the more naturally we can let go, the more naturally we can soften, and the more naturally our hearts move towards humility and respect and real connection. And that's ultimately what we're going for here. So that's all I had for you guys today. Do we want to have a couple shares, reflections, how this is meaningful to you, what it's bringing up for you?
Hi, Rhoda. I just was wondering if you could repeat what you said about intimacy. I wanted to write it down, but I didn't.
Yeah, I said a lot of things about intimacy. The intimacy is really refined when it has a sense of reverence. Was it that? Um,
I don't remember. That's what.
that intimacy isn't just closeness or familiarity, but it's seen clearly. It's that it's holding that person or that place sacred. And that's where real intimacy really deepens. Sometimes we think intimacy is like just being able to say whatever you want whenever it's like we get overly familiar with our partners and we think that's intimacy, but actually real closeness is when that sense of reverence is sprinkled into it. It's like closeness on like another level. I remember one time I had a falling out with a devotee and I was speaking, this was like a devotee I was very, very close to. And I was speaking to my guru about this and I was really upset about this falling out because we were so close. We could just speak for each other. I mean, it was just we were very close. And my guru said, there'll be a time that your guys' relationship will be stronger and closer than ever. And I thought, how is that going to happen? I don't even what is he even saying? How could it be stronger and closer than ever? It's like we could literally finish each other's sentences. And I think as time goes on, I kind of understand more. It's like maybe there was too much familiarity there that our interaction was more like human, and that sacredness of really seeing the empowered side of each other was sometimes overshadowed. And when that can really be sprinkled in, even if you're not talking on the phone every day or hanging out for hours and hours a day, the relationship can be deeper. There's like it's a much deeper bond when that sense of like that high sense of like respect and appreciation and reverence is infused in the relationship. And this is why, I mean, Krishna's dedicates like 2 chapters to this in the Gita, showing us like the greatness of God. It's not to say like, oh, I'm so great, worship me. It's to help us to develop a strong, healthy relationship with God, and to see things clearly. To do that, we need to see things clearly, and that is understand the sacredness and the majesty of who we're dealing with here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Radha, that happened just last night. Something like
Please
that.
share.
We were at a program at Jai Subhadra's, and Braj and Lal were there. And anyway, it was sort of, there was a program. And then after the program, we kind of had like a little after party where just a bunch of us were telling stories and talking. And Kalachandji shared one of his poems, and I was sitting there like, how intimate am I with my husband? Very, like. But I was sitting there going, wow, he's like a professor and an editor, and he's saying all these things. Like I was suddenly not like his intimate friend. Yeah, I was really thinking this whole time. Like I was like, wow, who is that guy? Like he's pretty cool. Like I don't know. It's like when you can see your husband as others might see him, or like for all of his power in whatever he's good at. Um, and I was just like falling in love with him all over again. And but it was like I was feeling a little of that like reverence, like you forget who your partner is. And it's not even materially. I mean, he's just, I don't know. I'm just like, I got another sense of like, wow, I'm pretty lucky. So,
Yes. Yes. Wow.
so that
Krishna's really
that
blessing you.
intimacy leading to greater clarity, if you can make that happen, includes that all the facets of that person, which can be greater than you on some areas. And it's good to recognize that and appreciate it, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Krishna's
Yeah,
really blessed you.
yeah, I was just thinking when you shared that it's like all of a sudden the envy disappears. When you see the greatness of
Mm.
somebody and you're not looking at them like, well, I could have said that. I could have made that point, and you come to a place of real, you know, a deeper sense of that reverence and the humility. I just was struck by the 39, the verse 39, where he talks of Arjuna, so you're air and water. Up to this point, we've heard like this greatness of I am the shark of the ocean. I am the Himalayas of the mountains, and this is from Krishna, but it's like the biggest of the biggest, the greatest of the greatest. But all of a sudden, Arjuna is reeling, you are my essential. You cannot live without water and air, and Arjuna all of a sudden is like everything else might be great, but you are my essential lifeblood.
Mm.
So it's really
Mm.
beautiful. Thank you so much for class.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. Anybody else? This
Yeah,
pitfall, yeah, please.
go ahead.
I like to hear you. Thank you.
Um, well, in a way to counter what my good wife said, I was also thinking about self-knowledge and humility. You mentioned humility and how I think like real knowledge of the self leads to humility.
Mhm.
And it's, humility you've talked about before is not self-deprecation. It's like, really am I? And like that's okay. That's good. But it's also a humble thing because I'll say I, but I'm just me, and we're all just me. And I think that's a wonderfully humble position that comes from self-knowledge.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. The more evolved we become, the more humble we will become because we understand things in their rightful position. And it's quite beautiful and it's quite liberating too.
Very, very.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to be anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not trying to excite envy or anything because like, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. You guys are wonderful. We're going to do a couples retreat with Shraddhanjali and Kalachandji next year. It's happening. I just said this is the first time I think Kalachandji's heard this, maybe. So I hope this is okay. We have to do a couples retreat with you guys. You guys are a divine couple. She's saying, "Oh no, I can read her lips, but you're on mute, so nobody else can hear you." Yes. Anybody else want to share?
Could I just say, Radha,
Alrighty.
on that note, that couples retreats I just find are one of the most enriching, and like that sense of seeing your partner as who they really are. So it makes me feel emotional. It's a wonderful thing to do. So I really hope you do that. Couples
Wow.
retreats, you just see your partner in a different light when it's under a spiritual sort of caring arms. You feel you're being held, and it gives you that space to really admire and appreciate your partner.
Wow.
So I'm definitely coming.
Yeah, great.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanmay. Any final reflections before we go? Martine, did you have one more thing? I saw you leaning forward.
No, I mean, the couples retreat, put that on the board, wherever that if we're able to come, that would be lovely. I think it's always, it's work in progress. It doesn't matter how long you are together. And it evolves, it changes. It's a very different context when your children are adult and gone, uh, and then you have to look at each other again. so to speak, even though you look at each other every day, I think it's not easy. It's not an easy journey, you know. It's it's interesting, should we say? It's interesting, and
Mm.
yeah. So very humbling, and I think the theme of today, in a way, was humility, right? Finding our way back to being humble in a world that is so disjointed right now on so many levels. And I think, regardless of where we are, I mean, you know me a little bit, where we are, where I am on this journey, for me, it's more on the, I to start the day and sometimes bookend the day, on my own, listening to something else, has really helped me not fall off the cliff again, so to speak.
Mm.
Um, and have I resolved my belief in, the supreme? No, I'm a seeker, and that's maybe my where I am to be in this way right now, but keeping listening to, and it changes you whether you want it or not. It's maybe not. Yeah, it changes you. It makes you, slow down. And I think when you are retired, that's a gift of retirement for those of us who are older. Being able to slow down, by
Mm.
default, and go inward while
Mm.
going outward by serving and volunteering and so forth,
Mm.
Yeah. So thank you for your words. It's always a gift. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And all of you also, thank you so much. It's great to see
Mm.
Tanmai. I can't wait for tomorrow morning to take your class.
Mm.
Yes, I was actually just gonna plug that next. 7 a.m. Take class with Tanmai Karina. She'll be teaching. It's in all levels. She'll be doing an Eagle Flow with a kind of a Mother's Day theme. So come on, the links will be on our Conscious Collective WhatsApp group, and our website is coming soon. It will be out within 2 weeks, our website, and then we'll have all the links on there as well. So thank you all for coming today and sharing your hearts and humility. And I look forward to seeing you all on Thursday. Appreciate you all.
They're standing.